What's up, guys? Happy 4th of July. Today, we are celebrating Independence Day. How exciting. Today on Real Men Talk, we're going to be talking about Independence Day. We're going to be talking about kind of the shape that America's in and where we're going and what happens if we don't turn. So let's get started on Real Men Talk.
Welcome to Real Man Talk, discussing the tough issues facing men and their families every day. Here's Anthony Curnutt and Kyler Sowell.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today, I'm so excited to have Kyler Sowell back in the studio. What's up, Kyler?
Hey, guys. What's happening?
We missed you last week.
Oh, good to be back.
It's good to have you back. And so Independence Day. Happy 4th, everybody.
Yep.
As we celebrate the independence of this great nation and America, you know, it's exciting. You know, I always love 4th of July, the fireworks and the heat. And, you know, I don't really enjoy
I love
heat.
all of those things.
Yeah.
With a pregnant wife, those are the best things.
Oh, my goodness. I can only imagine. She's
Loud
got to be
noises
miserable.
and heat. This is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, man. I bet she is miserable, isn't she?
Oh, yeah. But we're going to the beach, so we'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
We'll be good.
Let's go. Yeah. So 4th of July, guys. And I hope that you guys are having a fantastic 4th. If you're listening to this and it's after the 4th, I hope you had a great 4th. And so today we're going to do something a little bit different than what we typically do. And I'm kind of excited to share it with you. And hopefully you guys have heard it before, but Paul Harvey, Steve Harvey,
Kind of different.
Yeah. In every way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Harvey in 1965, April 3rd, 1965, did a broadcast called If I Were the Devil. And it may be one of the most powerful things that I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk about it today. Mm-hmm. We're going to kind of go through this and then, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, some good stuff too.
Right.
You know, with just warning, this is kind of heavy. Mm-hmm. It's not real long. It's about 3 minutes long. And so, we're going to play through this.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Wow. That is such a heavy thing. You go through and you listen to that, and I know that he at the end he's like, if I were the devil, I'd just keep on doing things the way that they were, and you can see the outcome. This is 1963.
Yeah.
And here we are, 2024, and all of those things have come to pass.
Oh yeah. Well, and he saw it from way back then. So just think back in 1965 when he did the broadcast on April the 3rd, the things that he saw then to what we have now. I mean, it was like a warning. I mean, it was a warning. He's like, you know what? This is what's going to happen if we continue on the way that we go. And nobody took him seriously. And I don't know how many times I've seen this played lately. There's a reason. I mean, it's America's waking up. What you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're waking up again to what's happening, and they're seeing these things, and it's that, and it's, I don't even know. I mean, he goes through, and there's so many good points that he puts in here, and he aligns them with a lot of the biblical truths. And I find it funny that this hasn't came to pass, or hasn't came back up until recently. I mean, when I was a kid, I don't remember ever hearing this. And I remember Paul Harvey telling the rest of the story all the time.
Right.
But there's a reason back in 1965 that after this was broadcast that it kind of fell to the wayside, because it offered conviction. I mean, if I were the devil, I would do these things. I mean, he starts out and he says, if I was the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. I mean, go look a lot of these things up in the Bible and you can see
Here
these.
we are, right?
I mean, it speaks to spiritual warfare and the forces of darkness. I mean, it's Satan in the Bible is the prince of this world. And so he's alluding to and saying, the devil's here. He's real. And
right.
He's doing all these things and he's working. And if you aren't paying attention, this is what's going to happen.
You're right.
And there's so many things that he goes through. He talks about the churches. He talks about our children. He talks about the government. He goes, I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with the campaign of whispers, with the wisdom of a serpent. I'd whisper to you as I whisper to Eve, do as you please.
Yeah. And you look at the world during and after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about engulfing the entire world in darkness? When people aren't allowed to leave their homes, when people are isolated, right?
Yeah.
And then it talks about, having the, a third of the real estate and 4/5 of its population, all this stuff. But it wouldn't be happy until the ripest apple on the tree, and here's the thing, and people can argue all they want. It doesn't matter. America is absolutely the greatest nation. It has been probably the most influential nation.
Oh, yes.
Since its birth.
Yes.
Right. I understand that America's a young nation, even still, we are still a young nation.
Yes.
But the things that we have done, right? You look at the world wars, you look at, the war on poverty, the war on drugs, the war on, we've sent more missionaries than anybody else. We've done all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that America is the end all of meat all, right?
Right.
I mean, I am an American and I am grateful for it, right?
Yes.
But Satan understood what he was doing when he come after America.
Mm-hmm.
He understood what he was doing when all this stuff had happened. And you know what aggravates me the most? out of this.
What?
This is 1965, April 3rd, 1965. And since then, I mean, we're almost, 50 years after that? No, we're more than that. 60 years after that. And 59 years. The church has stood idle for 59 years and have done nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he painted the most perfect picture of what was happening.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people in 1965 was like, this guy's off his rockers.
Yes.
Right. This guy's, he's just being an alarmist. He just wants to spread fear, all this stuff, and here we are in 2024, 59 years later.
Yes.
And we see everything in this message so clearly.
Yeah.
It just recently, over the last, 2-3 years, polygamy has been this huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
You get questions. Every apologist that I listen to, that just answers questions. Sometimes they'll have episodes where they just answer questions. This question comes up so often.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, guys. And everything that is in here is for one thing, and that is to destroy the truth, to destroy the church, right? Not just the Church of America, but as a whole, right? Everything he's doing, everything Satan is doing is countering and mocking truth.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's all he wants to do. And I was reading a little bit more in the article, and it says that this didn't resurface until 1999. That people didn't talk about this, church didn't talk about this transcript back until 1999. And it just goes to show that when the devil needs something hidden, he'll go to great lengths to hide it. And that's what he's been doing. He's been able to work in all these different lies. I mean, look at our youth.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the big things that Harvey talks about. He goes, to the young, I'd whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God and said it the other way around. I mean, we've had the Big Bang Theory. We've had churches that are established on different versions or their version of the Bible saying, the Bible doesn't really teach this. It really says this, right. Or it's not translated this way. It was actually meant to be translated this way. The Bible was never written that way for us to translate it for ourselves. I mean, you can take and you can apply it however you feel like, but that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it biblically sound. And I mean, he hit it right on the nose. And then substituting God with government. I mean, how many times I remember going to school and up in the corner of the classroom, you would have "In God We Trust" and the little plaque with the flag on it.
Yes.
I've not seen one of those in a classroom in I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show that the government will try to do whatever they can to put their finger and pull out God. And yes, some people are going to say, well, we got to separate church and state and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I get it. However, that's not what it was meant for. The Bible teaches that God alone is sovereign, and he warns against idolatry. And at some points in time, we almost try to make ourselves God in the government. They do.
Yes.
Let's just be honest. They try to put themselves on the pedestal and set themselves in the highest place instead of humbling themselves before God. And that's a big issue where we're going, especially with our government in the United States. I mean, we were founded on these principles back in July 4th, 1776, when we declared ourselves independent.
That's right.
What we're doing now is nowhere near. I wonder what the founding fathers would say.
Oh my goodness. But they're rolling in the graves.
I bet they probably are trying to go someplace else. They're like, I can't look at that anymore.
They'd start a revolution. I mean, I'm just being honest. They did it once.
They would. They probably would.
And
it's not meant to say that there's not good in our country. There's good in our country. There's great things in our country that are happening. But there's so many things that we need to change to make better.
That's right.
That we have to remember that when we are sitting around, we have to remember to think of our nation and pray for our nation, pray for the leaders. I think people have forgotten the power of prayer.
Oh, 100%.
There's power in words. I mean, Elijah, through prayer, caused it not to rain for, I think it was 3 years through his words. I mean, there's so many times in the Bible that through prayer, I mean, I can't even list them all, that God acts and he reacts and he shows us exactly what we need and how we need it just by praying. And just imagine if everybody just sat and they prayed for the nation constantly, how many intercessors we would have that are going to bat for the United States and what God could do, what work he could do.
Mm-hmm.
I oftentimes think of the United States like Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, can I just find one and I won't destroy it? Just one. And he's like, I can't find one.
Right.
I can't find one. And I don't want us to get to that point because we don't ever need to get to that point. We shouldn't get to that point.
Right.
Because we have a God who loves us and a God who is willing to do anything for us, but we've kind of lost sight of that.
Yeah. Well, and you look at, again, back to the churches, when all this stuff come out, everybody was like, well, I wasn't there, but I'm sure they were like, well,
we're close.
We're
kind of old.
About 20 years off, but
close enough.
They were like, well, this couldn't happen to America, right? We land of the free, home of the brave. You know what I mean? Like we're this at that time, a Judeo-Christian nation, and all this stuff. And here we are, again, 59 years later, and we're going, wait a minute. There was that part in the second paragraph of I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of dysfunction, and I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. Mm-hmm. You look at the amount of people who are on some kind of antidepressants, anxiety medicine.
Oh yeah.
All this stuff has actually happened. And, it is terrifying, having the dog sniffing, the drug sniffing dogs and the metal detectors in our schools and, and all. I mean, it's horrifying. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing again, and I know this is pretty harsh judgment, but I blame the church.
Yeah.
We have set back and we have, just lavished in our religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of showing Jesus to the world,
right?
And and here's the thing, taking a stand is what Jesus did, right? I mean that's what he did, And again, he was spot on for this too, and I'd use his own churches as I would substitute psychology for religion. And defy science, right? I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. I mean, good night. How often have you seen this happen?
All the time.
Here in America, it is so heart-wrenching, right? If I were the devil, I'd make symbols of Easter an egg and symbols of Christian or Christmas a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so heart-wrenching, right?
Yeah. Well, if you keep looking at his agenda through this whole thing, one of the biggest thing was he says that he would encourage family and church discord. I'd soon had the families that war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves. I mean, that goes against everything in the Bible. The Bible in Psalms 133:1 talks about unity and peace. And in Ephesians 4:3, it's never God's goal for there to be disorder. But if God can create, or if Satan can create disorder in what God created order from, it creates chaos. And we said it before on the podcast, God is not disorder, but he is in the disorder.
Mm-hmm.
But we forget sometimes that the devil is at work. And I mean, how many families, since 1965, the divorce rate's gone up. I don't even know how much. How many people are still at church? After COVID, how many people actually went back to church after COVID?
Right.
Looking at all these things, he's slowly taking out the family. He's slowly taking out the church. And what we do is we don't understand and we don't see and we don't fix these things. He's almost like done it so well that we've just turned a blind eye to it. And sometimes when I say blind eye, we just didn't see it. Like we see it when people point it out. But then once we point it out and we have a riled up discussion for it, we forget about it again and we go back to our normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is we can't hear these words that he talks about, and we can't hear what we should be doing and then never do anything about it. We can't tell you that we need to be praying for our nation. We can't tell you that we need to be lifting up our families and our churches and creating unity with each other and having like-minded individuals. We can't tell you to do all this stuff without putting it into practice.
That's right.
And that's the hard part, is we can do so many things all day long, but if you don't ever practice what you preach, it's never going to end like it should.
Yeah. And listen, I understand that this first half of this podcast has been super heavy, right? Here you are, you're celebrating your 4th, and we're kicking in, while you're down. And that's not the goal, but we also need to understand where we are at as America. We need to understand the depravity of what is going on. And so listen, we're gonna take a little break. When we come back, we're gonna continue talking about this. We're gonna talk, there are good things that are happening. And so let's take a break. We'll be right back after this.
You're listening to Real Men Talk with Anthony Curnutt and Kyler Sowell. More engaging conversation on the way. Don't go anywhere.
If you want to join in the conversation, join us on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. We gather with other like-minded Christian brothers to discuss hard-hitting topics that affect men on a daily basis. We use a biblical approach to overcoming common strongholds that affect our families. We show men the importance of being the spiritual leader of their homes and what it means to be a real man in the eyes of Christ. Join us at the Palace of Praise, located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We meet in room 400 every Thursday. Come be a part of the discussion.
Hey guys, Anthony Curnutt here. Framework for Biblical Masculinity has been out for a couple months now. The response that we have had has been unbelievable. Listen guys, if you've not got your copy yet, you need to go get your copy today. You can get it on Amazon. Just type in Framework for Biblical Masculinity, or you can just type in my name, Anthony Curnutt, or you can go to our website, www.realmenministries.us, and follow the link and get your copy today. Listen guys, you want to get a copy of this. Do not wait until it's too late. Get a copy. You will not be disappointed.
If you've got questions about today's show, feel free to reach out to us on social media. Message us. We would love to hear from you. Welcome back to Real Men Talk. It's time for more man stuff. Here's Anthony Curnutt and Kyler Sowell.
All right, guys, welcome back. Hey, so, to continue our conversation beforehand, I know you were hoping that the gears would change when we come back, but we've got just a little bit more I'd like to talk about before we start talking about the good stuff. But
We have the rest of the story.
Nice.
See what I did there?
I did.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's your pun for the night, guys.
Let's go. So I read a book not too long ago called A Letter to the American Church by Eric Metaxas. I've talked about it on here a couple of times, so if you've listened for a while, you've probably heard me talk about it. But if you have not read that book, you should definitely read that book. And here's what Eric Metaxas does: is he compares today's church to today's American church to the church in Germany pre-Hitler. And something so powerful that he talked about there was he was talking about before Hitler took over, there were 18,000 pastors in Germany at the time. 3,000 of them sided with Hitler. 3,000 of them stood in opposition to Hitler, and 12,000 pastors did nothing. And we have the example of what happened when that many pastors, that many churches, that many people stood and did by the wayside and did nothing about it. And again, I realize this is heavy, but here we are, we're in an election year. We have all this stuff that is going on. America is in this downward spiral. Spiritually, morality is nowhere to be seen. We as the church, men, this is a direct call to you. We as the church have got to stand up for truth.
Yes.
We have to take a stand for morality, right? We have to take a stand for what is right. Call an ace an ace. You know, there are, you know, we just come out of June, you know, and I know that people probably don't want me to get on that soapbox, but you know, we no longer have the luxury of sitting on the sidelines and allow this stuff happen. Now, I'm not talking about being out in the streets and holding up signs and you're all going to hell. Nah.
Right.
You know, but it's time for us to have some really tough conversations.
Yes.
It's time for us to get our hands dirty and get in and love some people. You know, part of the thing that Eric Metaxas was talking about in that book, those 12,000 pastors, they were like, you know what? We're just going to sit in our church and we're just going to preach the gospel. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. They just, you know, they knew Jesus, right? They preached the gospel just from inside the four walls. What good did it do? What good did it do? You know, and I don't want to take away the fact that God is still moving.
Yes.
Right. God is still on the move. He is clearly doing something. And I agree with Kyler. Kyler mentioned beforehand that how America, there is a remnant in America that has awoken. Mm-hmm. And they are on fire. You see these young people that are coming up that are on fire for Jesus.
Oh, yes.
You know, I was listening to, Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, and he was talking about, they have some statistics out about how there are the boys young boys between the ages, I think he said like 13 and 20, maybe 18 or 21, are more conservative now than what they have been in 20 years. You know, and his point in saying it is people are getting tired of the way things are going.
Right.
There is this awakening that is happening. People are seeing that, hey, this is not the way that things should be going. This is not the same America that we remember, or this is not the America that I want for my family coming up. And so we're going to take a stand. We're going to make a difference. Right. And again, that doesn't look like going out and chastising people. You know, you're all going to hell. You're all a bunch of sinners and standing on the street corner with, you know, on top of a box with a sign, you know, like, what was that? I better not even say it, but you know, that they were holding up those signs, you know, God hates fags and stuff like that. That's not Jesus.
No.
That's not Jesus. That's not a good example of who Jesus is. Right? We are called to love the people.
Yes.
But love also is painful at times, right? Those conversations that we need to have with people can be uncomfortable and they can be difficult.
Yes.
But they are necessary.
Yes. And it kind of paints a picture for me, you know, we were talking about the reawakening in people. Is, you know, the devil rules this world and he does it and he tries to do his best. But ultimately, we were created in God's image. God created us. And it's almost like, and this is how I see it, is if you take your kids out, okay, they will wander and they will play and they will go do things and they will see things and try things and do new things. But when they get to that point where they realize that they've gone too far, they realize that they are not safe any longer. They can't see you. You know, you're the mom or the dad. They can't see you anymore. They automatically will start searching for you. And as a nation, that's where we're at right now. We are back at that searching phase because we as children of God, all of us are, whether we want to believe in God or not, we are all children of God. We have all strayed too far. And we're now back at that searching phase of how do I get back to safety? How do I get back to the one who created me? How do I get back to the one that I know I feel secure in? And that's where we're at. And, you know, our kids, eventually find a way back to us. You know, you're sitting back on that park bench just waiting for your kids to come back to you. And that's kind of where God's at. He's just waiting for us. He will come in our midst. He will, if we ask for him to come, he will be there. But he's not going to force himself back. He's not going to force themselves back into our lives. Just like you're not going to go force your kids to come back when you see that they're having fun and they're playing. But eventually in their bodies, they know that they've gone too far. They've gone past what's the safe point is, and they eventually come back to you. And that's where we are, I feel, as a nation, is we are back in that searching phase of, okay, we've got to make it back to that safety net. And we as men, we have to try to help and guide our families back to that safety net. Ezekiel 33:6 says, but if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin. But I will hold the watchman accountable for their blood.
Amen.
You know, and that's a hard verse to read, but we as men, we are the watchmen of our family.
That's right.
We have to be on the lookout for anything that is going to try to come into our family to kill, steal, and destroy. I mean, that's the devil's agenda every single day. And we have to make sure that we are creating an environment that is safe for our kids to run back to us every single time. That way we can direct them to where we need to direct them to. And that's God.
That's right. And no matter what you do, this change starts in the home. You know, we talk about it all the time, the church or the family, the homes, right? Affect the church.
Yes.
The churches affect the community. If we want change, it starts in our home. Those hard conversations with our children, taking a stand with our children, raising them up to be godly men and women is how we make the change. You're not going to go out here and tell everybody out there that you're all going to hell, and we need to do something. You want to do something? Make a change in your home.
Yes.
How are you raising your children? Are you the best friend? Or you just let them go do whatever? You try to be progressive, all this stuff. Take a stand in your home, then take a stand at church, then take a stand in your community. That's the way it's supposed to be. And sometimes we can feel like, we're just too far gone. Like what is the hope for America now? But I read this meme the other day, and this sums this up perfectly. It said, no matter how far your journey has been away from God, the return journey is one step. And that's it. All we have to do is stop and be like, God, we need you as a nation. And as a nation, we have to be like, God, we need you. We need you, God. And it's just a one-step turning back.
Yes, and we as men, we have to die. And I'm not men, but everybody. But we're talking to men specifically here. We have to die to that pride that we need somebody else. And I think that's where, even for me sometimes, where we are like, no, we can do this on our own. I can guide my family. No one can guide your family better than God. No one can help you guide your family better than God. No one can create that path that everybody needs to walk, because he has paved the path. He has paved the road. He knows the perfect place for you to go. He knows the perfect alignment for you. And we as men, we had to put that pride down and say, okay, God, I give it all to you. I give my family to you. I surrender my finances to you. I surrender my marriage to you. I surrender everything to you, my job, my work. When I go back out, my conversations, when you surrender everything to God, he then can lead you back to where you need to go. And we have to almost die to that pride that says, no, I can do this. I'm doing all right. And then we would make it back to where we need to be.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And here's the thing, and a lot of people are not going to like whenever I say this, but it's truth. One of the things we do to make a change is we go to the voting booth. And here we are, we're in an election year, and I'm telling you right now, this may be probably the most crucial election that we will ever take part in.
Yes.
And I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I'm telling you should vote your morals. You don't know what a candidate stands for? Look it up. You take the responsibility of looking up each person that you plan to vote for or don't plan to vote for.
Yes.
And you look through their voting record. You look at what they stand for. And I have a very simple. Nothing seems simple anymore. I don't know that I'm going to use the word simple, but I have a very plain voting strategy. If you cannot get the simple fact that life is important, there's absolutely nothing else that you can say to convince me that you have any kind of intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, I know that's harsh, but it's true. If you can't see human beings as valuable, you basically have no morals.
Yes.
At all.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the best part about this election is we have two presidents who we have been able to see what they've done in 4 years.
That's right.
So we can go back and we can say, okay, they said this. Did they do this? Their website or whatever says that they align with this, but did their actions in office support this?
That's right.
That's the best thing, because there's most of the time we get a green president, somebody who has not had office before, all this stuff, and we can't do research. But with both of these candidates, with Trump or Biden, you're able to go in and see their time in office, what has happened. Did they stand up for what was right? Did they align with the biblical truths? Did they do what they said that they were going to do during the debates on their website, what they said that they were going to accomplish by the end of it? And you can create an educated opinion. And that's what we're trying to say, is don't go out there and look at what the media tells you, because the media is going to control that narrative. The media is going to only allow certain things to come out. I mean, they were talking about the Biden and Trump debate the other day, of how they were mad because they had the split screen the whole time. Well, you want to be able to see both candidates, don't you? I mean, that's the split screen. They're like, well, they didn't do any favors. Well,
they didn't do any favors for Biden.
Yes. And so they went through and they're trying to control the narrative now on everything. And so you have to do your own research. Don't take what the media says. Go out there, do your research, find the proof in the pudding, literally, and see what happens and what comes about.
That's right. And here's the thing, encourage your families to do the same thing. I've got 2 children that are of age to be voting. You better believe that I will make sure that they are at the voting booth. I
just picture Anthony sit down with a 10-point PowerPoint presentation.
I'm not organized enough for that.
Sit down. We got to talk.
We're gonna have the
first slide, and he just rips it up. All right, here you go.
Yeah. We'll be having discussions, but the 10-point PowerPoint, I don't know that I'm organized enough for all that. But yeah,
just ChatGPT.
Yeah, right. But seriously, it's important. Everybody's just last thing, we'll wrap this up. But everybody likes to go back to Romans 13. Well, we're supposed to honor our government, and God has established those people. Well, that's just the thing. When you look at America, we, being a republic, the people are the governing force of America. And if we, the governing force, do not do our jobs, we have seen what happens. America suffers because of it.
Yep.
And we have to. I don't care. I understand that we do not have a perfect candidate. I understand that you are picking the lesser of 2 evils. I get all of that. But we have to do something, because if we continue the America that we once knew, the land of the free and home of the brave, will no longer be.
Nope.
They will come after the Christians. They will come after the churches. They will come after, you like your freedom of religion. You like all, they will come after it. I'm telling you, but they are already doing it. Men, take a stand for your families, for your future families, the next generations. We have to do something. This 4th of July is a perfect time to start. And I want to encourage you guys to be in prayer for your nation, be in your word for your family, and grow and grow and grow in Jesus Christ. Man, I want to give you a plug for the book. Don't forget the book for Framework for Biblical Masculinity. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to our website, www.realmenministries.us. follow the link. You can email us, realmen@palaceofpraise.com. We can send you the link. If you've got any questions about what we've talked about today, you got any questions in general, hit us up. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever it's called now, X, TikTok, all that good stuff. Listen, like, share, follow this page. The more likes, the more shares, the higher in the algorithm we go. The more people get to hear the content that we have on here. And so, man, we love you. Jesus loves you. He is for you. He wants to see you succeed. And as always, I want to end in a prayer. Holy Spirit, teach us to be leaders of our homes, of our communities, and of our churches. And teach us to be godly, courageous men. In Jesus' name, amen.
You've been listening to Real Men Talk. If you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email, realmen@palaceofpraise.com, or visit our website at realmenministries.us. You can also message us through social media. If you're a man age 16 and up and would like to be a part of the conversation, join us at the Palace of Praise every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. If you don't have a home church, consider joining us for worship on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Palace of Praise is located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. New episodes of Real Men Talk drop every Thursday at 5 p.m. on all major podcast platforms. You can also find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Real Men Talk is a production of Real Men Studios in cooperation with Palace Media Services.